To see other rulers related or affiliated with Alexander Jannaeus, see List of Hasmonean and Herodian rulers. Alexander Jannaeus was the second Hasmonean king of Judea from 103 BC to 76 BC. A son of John Hyrcanus, he inherited the throne from his brother Aristobulus and married his brother's widow, Queen Salome Alexandra, the sister of one of Israel's greatest sages, Shimon ben Shetach. From his conquests to expand the kingdom to a bloody civil war, Alexander's reign has been generalized as cruel and oppressive with never-ending conflict. Family. Alexander Jannaeus was the third son of John Hyrcanus by his second wife. When Aristobulus I, Hyrcanus's son by his first wife, became king, he deemed it necessary for his own security to imprison his half-brother. Aristobulus died after a reign of 1 year. Upon his death, his widow, Salome Alexandra, had Alexander and his brothers released from prison. Alexander, as the eldest living brother, had the right not only to the throne but also to Salome, the widow of his deceased brother, who had died childless, and, although she was 13 years older than he married her. By her, he had 2 sons. The eldest, Hyrcanus II, became high priest in 62 BC, and Aristobulus II, who was high priest from 66-62 BC, and started a bloody civil war with his brother, ending in his capture by Pompey the Great. Conquests. War with Ptolemy Lathyrus. Alexander's first expedition was against the city of Ptolemy. While Alexander went forward to siege the city, Zoilus, ruler of the coastal city Dora and Straton's tower, took the opportunity to see if he could perhaps save Ptolemy in hopes of gaining territory. Alexander's Hasmonean army quickly defeated Zoilus's forces with little trouble. Ptolemy and Zoilus then requested aid from Ptolemy the Ninth Lathyrus, who had been cast out by his mother Cleopatra III. Ptolemy founded a kingdom in Cyprus after being cast out by his mother. The situation at Ptolemy was seized as an opportunity by Ptolemy to possibly gain a stronghold and control the Judean coast in order to invade Egypt. Ptolemy landed a large army for the relief of the town, but Alexander met him with treachery, arranging an alliance with him openly while secretly he sought to obtain the help of his mother against him. When Alexander formed an alliance with Ptolemy, Ptolemy in good gesture handed over Ptolemy, Zoilus, Dora, and Straton's tower to Alexander. As soon as Ptolemy learned of Alexander's scheme, he invaded the Galilee region, capturing Asagus. Ptolemy also initiated an attack upon Sepphoris but failed. Alexander might easily have lost his crown and Judea its independence as the result of this battle, had it not been for the assistance extended by Egypt. Cleopatra's 2 Jewish generals, Helkias and Ananias, persuaded the queen of the dangers of allowing her banished son Ptolemy to remain victorious, and she entrusted them with an army against him. As a result, Ptolemy was forced to withdraw to Cyprus, and Alexander was saved. The Egyptians, as compensation for their aid, desired to annex Judea to the country, but considerations touching the resident Egyptian Jews, who were the main support of her throne, induced Cleopatra to modify her longings for conquest. The Egyptian army withdrawn, Alexander found his hands free, and forthwith he planned new campaigns. Transjordan and coastal conquest. Alexander captured Gadara and the strong fortress Amathus in the Transjordan region, but, in an ambush set for him by Theodorus, ruler of Amathus, he lost the battle. Alexander was more successful in his expedition against the Hellenized coastal cities, capturing Raphia and Anthedon. Finally, in 96 BC, Jannaeus outlasted the inhabitants of Gaza in a year-long siege, which he occupied through treachery, and gave up to be pillaged and burned by his soldiery. This victory gained Judean control over the Mediterranean outlet for the Nabatean trade routes. Judean Civil War. The Judean Civil War initially began after the conquest of Gaza by Jannaeus around 99 BC. Due to Jannaeus's victory at Gaza, the Nabatean kingdom no longer controlled the main trade route to the Mediterranean Sea at Gaza and to the road leading to Damascus. Therefore, the Nabatean king Obidas I launched an ambush on Alexander in a steep valley in Gadara, where Jannaeus was lucky to escape alive. After Jannaeus was defeated in the Battle of Gadara against the Nabateans, he returned to fierce Jewish opposition in Jerusalem. Alexander had to cede the acquired territories to the Nabateans so that he could dissuade Obidas from supporting his opponents in Judea. During the Jewish holiday of Feast of Tabernacles, Alexander Jannaeus, while officiating as the high priest at the temple in Jerusalem, demonstrated his support of the Sadducees by refusing to perform the water libation ceremony properly. Instead of pouring it on the altar, he poured it on his feet. The crowd responded with shock at his mockery and showed their displeasure by pelting Alexander with the etrogim that they were holding in their hands. Outraged, he ordered soldiers to kill those who insulted him. More than 6,000 people in the temple courtyard were massacred. With further frustration, Alexander had wooden barriers built around the altars, preventing people from sacrificing and denied daily offerings except for the priests. He also allied himself with foreign troops such as the Pisidians and the Clinicians, who would later help his regime during the civil war. This incident during the Feast of Tabernacles was a major factor leading up to the Judean Civil War by igniting popular opponents of Jannaeus. Overall, the war lasted 6 years and left 50,000 Judeans dead. After Jannaeus succeeded early in the war, the rebels asked for Seleucid assistance. Judean insurgents joined forces with Demetrius III Eucharis to fight against Jannaeus. The Seleucid forces defeated Jannaeus at Shechem and forced him to take refuge in the mountains. However, these Judean rebels ultimately decided that it was better to live under a terrible Jewish king than backtrack to a Seleucid ruler. After 6,000 Jews returned to Jannaeus, Demetrius was defeated. The end of the civil war brought a sense of national solidarity against Seleucid influence. Nevertheless, Jannaeus was uninterested in reconciliation within the Judean state. The aftermath of the Judean civil war consisted of popular unrest, poverty and grief over the fallen soldiers on both sides. The greatest impact of the war was the victor's revenge. Josephus reports that Jannaeus brought 800 Pharisee rebels to Jerusalem and had them crucified, and had the throats of the rebels' wives and children cut before their eyes as Jannaeus ate with his concubines. Coinage. The coinage of Alexander Jannaeus is characteristic of the early Jewish coinage in that it avoided human or animal representations, in opposition to the surrounding Greek and later Roman types of the period. Jewish coinage instead focused on symbols, either natural, such as the palm tree, the pomegranate of the star, or man-made, such as the temple, the menorah, trumpets, a cornucopia. Alexander Jannaeus was the first of the Jewish kings to introduce the 8-ray star or 8-spoked wheel symbol in his bronze widow's mite coins, in combination with the widespread Seleucid numismatic symbol of the anchor. Depending on the make, the star symbol can be shown with straight spokes connected to the outside circle in a style rather indicative of a wheel. On others, the spokes can have a more flame-like shape, more indicative of the representation of a star within a diadem. It is not clear what the wheel or star may exactly symbolize, and interpretations vary from the morning star to the sun of the heavens. The influence of
some Persian symbols of a star within a diadem, or the eight-spoked Buddhist wheel have also been suggested. The eight-spoked Macedonian star, emblem of the royal Argead dynasty and the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, within a Hellenistic diadem symbolizing royalty, seem to be the most probable source for this symbol. The most likely explanation is that the symbol is a star encased in a diadem, and it is a religious explanation. Biblical law forbids the making of graven images, yet the image of a monarch is a staple of Hellenistic coins, in place of an image of himself. Therefore, it is likely that Alexander Jannaeus chose a star, in keeping with Numbers chapter 24 verse 17. A star rises from Jacob, a scepter comes forth from Israel. Quote, this verse generally was seen as a biblical support for monarchy. Jannaeus, however, could have seen it as an image of his achievements, if not his own rule. This is how the rest of Numbers chapter 24 verse 17 and verses 18 and 19 continue. The star, it says, smashes the brow of Moab, the foundation of all children of Seth. Edom becomes a possession, yea, Tyre a possession of its enemies, but Israel is triumphant. A victor issues from Jacob to wipe out what is left of Ar, considering Jannaeus's conquests, creating a kingdom that rivaled those of David and Solomon and may have even exceeded those the star envisioned in the prophecy of Balaam in Numbers was a perfect match for him. Citations. Bibliography.